A mysterious cave just appeared under Euphrates River out of nowhere.
The Euphrates River once, the lifeline of ancient empires vanishing. From a wide, roaring current to a narrow, fractured stream, it now reveals what was once hidden beneath its surface. Strange rock formations and ancient pathways emerge from the riverbed. But something deeper, something older is rising too. What if the greatest sign of the end times wasn't falling from the sky, but rising from beneath a riverbed? Villagers speak of metallic groans echoing from freshly revealed caves. Viral footage captures blood-red waters staining the soil where the river once ran pure. And beneath it all, archaeologists uncover sealed chamber, scarved in precision, sealed by time. In this journey, we'll descend into the abyss beneath the Euphrates and uncover what may be one of the most prophetic discoveries of our age: a chalice. Weapons forged for giants' blades too long, shields too wide for any human hand, skeletal remains that match the biblical nephilim. And most chilling of all, massive iron chains still anchored deep in the rock, echoing with the warnings of Revelation. The river is drying, the earth is speaking, and the question remains, are we listening? Each passing month, the once mighty flow dwindles under the weight of drought, dams, and climate instability. Along its banks in northern Syria and southeastern Turkey, the earth is cracking open, exposing layers of history not seen for thousands of years. Near the famed archaeological site of Zugma, something entirely unexpected emerges: a deep crevice. At first glance, it appears to be just another sinkhole, perhaps the result of the river's slow erosion. But local researchers, including a team from Gaziantep University, notice something different. Upon closer examination, they discover what looks like a sealed doorway, partially buried in sediment and overgrown with moss and calcified debris. The surrounding soil dates to the early Bronze Age. Excavations begin carefully. As they clear away the layers of mud and stone, the threshold becomes unmistakable: a rectangular entrance framed in blackened limestone, bearing faint carvings that shimmer oddly in the sun. The symbols don't match any single known language. Some resemble early Akkadian, others look like Aramaic, but mixed among them are spirals and geometric forms, with no identifiable origin, enigmatic, perhaps divine. Then, a sound, faint, metallic, rhythmic. At first dismissed as equipment noise or distant quarry work, it grows slightly louder as the team removes more of the obstruction. One researcher describes it as chains dragged across stone. Another says it's like the breath of something buried. Microphones set up at the entrance capture the paterna low scrape, pause, repeat. Whatever it is, it's coming from deep within. The atmosphere shifts the moment the stone seal is removed. Inside, the air is unnaturally still and damp. The light from outside fades almost instantly, swallowed by the interior darkness. The walls are damp, coated in mineral residue. The smell is of ancient earth and something unfamiliar, metallic, but not rust. It's heavy, almost suffocating. As the team steps into the first chamber, the mood is more funereal than archaeological. The ceiling arches unnaturally low. The stone walls are smooth, as if chiseled not by tools, but by precision unknown to ancient hands. Dust hangs in the air like fog, unmoved by breeze because there is none. The cave does not breathe. The first dozen meters are silent. No inscriptions, no artifacts, just smooth stone and darkness. But then, as the passage narrows and curves deeper underground, something glimmers faintly ahead. A reflection, a metallic sheen embedded into the wall. And so the expedition continues, deeper into the mouth of the earth, unaware that what waits inside is not just an archaeological mystery, but possibly the unlocking of a prophecy written in the final pages of the Bible. As the research team advanced into the lower reaches of the Euphrates cave system, the atmosphere grew even more unnatural. The walls began to narrow, the stone underfoot smooth and flat, as though shaped by design rather than nature. Then, almost unexpectedly, the passage opened into a chamber roughly 15 feet wide, its ceiling dome-shaped and unusually symmetrical. In the center stood a stone pedestal, dark and polished, unlike anything else in the cave. Behind it, sealed into the wall with a hardened mineral resin, was a carved alcove. The team hesitated. No markings indicated what lay inside. But when the seal was broken and the slab removed, what they found would stun even the most skeptical observers. Resting in the hollowed stone recess was an artifact that should not exist in this place. It was a chalicetle, elegant and impossibly preserved. Crafted from a metal unknown to any modern alloy, it had a dull golden hue that shimmered differently depending on the angle of the light. Its surface was etched with elaborate filigree, and it was encrusted with deep red stones, gem-like, yet crystalline, and glowing faintly as if lit from within. The most astonishing detail was the inscription around its rim, a combination of ancient Hebrew script and another language that defied classification. Some symbols resembled those described in Kabbalistic texts, others, according to preliminary analysis, were entirely unknown. The discovery sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. Could this be the Holy Grail? For centuries, the Grail has been the subject of legend, myth, and relentless search. Some believed it was hidden in Glastonbury, others whispered of its presence in the Templars' lost vaults. Still others claimed it had been taken to southern France or even Ethiopia, but never had it been tied to the Mesopotamian plains or the Euphrates River basin. And yet, here it was, in a cave beneath a drying river, surrounded by other relics of immense scale and mystery. Early Christian apocryphal writings hinted that the Grail had been hidden to protect it from tyrants and pagan rulers. The Acts of Pilate, an early Christian text, refers to a cup of glory passed secretly to the east. One Coptic manuscript describes followers of the Apostle Thomas fleeing with sacred relics into the heartlands of ancient Persian lands, not far from the very soil this cave inhabits. Some even believe the Grail was moved during the persecution of believers under Diocletian, hidden in a place so obscure it would never be touched until now. Could early sects of Christianity, those scattered through persecution, have brought the cup into the Euphrates region for safekeeping? The possibility seems remote unless, of course, the Grail wasn't moved by man, but by divine will. Theologians are beginning to entertain another possibility, that the Grail's reemergence at this time and in this place is not accidental. Revelation 11:19 offers a cryptic but powerful image. And the temple of God was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament. Some interpret this as a symbolic unveiling of divine truth in the final days. Others take it more literally that sacred objects once hidden from mankind will resurface as warnings and affirmations of prophecy. In this view, the Grail becomes not just a vessel, but a symbol, a signpost marking the thin veil between history and eternity. It is worth noting, the Euphrates River is mentioned repeatedly in the final chapters of the Bible as the setting of angelic imprisonment, great battles, and cataclysmic plagues. That such a central artifact of Christ's earthly ministry, the very cup that bore his blood, would be found here of all places, is either divine irony or divine orchestration. Skeptics argue it could be a ceremonial cup of unknown origin, but the weight of the evidence, the inscriptions, the materials, the location, compels a deeper consideration. As the team documented the find, the sound of chains echoed again from deep within the rock, and while the world debated authenticity, others fell to their knees. Because if this truly is the Grail, then the final chapter is closer than we think. Not far from where the Grail lay hidden, the research team stumbled upon another chamber. It had no altar, no ceremonial carvings, just a narrow, tunnel-like corridor that sloped downward and opened into a dark recess. There, buried in sediment and fossilized dust, was a pile of artifacts that defied explanation. What they uncovered was not the delicate pottery or crumbling tools typically found in ancient digs. These were weapons, massive ones. The first object removed was a sword over 6 feet in length, double-edged, and perfectly balanced along its spine. Its hilt was wrapped in something like leather, but far more durable. The blade bore no rust, no decay. Instead, it shimmered faintly, even in the absence of direct light. Along the blade's edge were etched symbols, razor-thin inscriptions unlike any alphabet known to linguistics. Some believed them to be Proto-Canaanite, others saw early Semitic forms. But one scholar, a linguist with a background in religious esoterica, suggested something more controversial. Enochian, the fabled language of angels, as described in the apocryphal Book of Enoch. More weapons followed. Massive shields as tall as doors, each with a circular emblem burned into their surface. Some depicted winged beings, others featured patterns of seven-pointed stars or serpents coiled around flaming swords. There were spears longer than most trees, and breastplates large enough to cover a being 10 to 12 feet tall. Tests conducted on the metal returned baffling results. The alloys did not match any known composition used by ancient civilizations. The material was both lighter than titanium and stronger than forged steel. Attempts to cut or scratch the surface failed. Geologists and metallurgists were left speechless. This was no ordinary armory. And yet, it had all been entombed beneath the Euphrates River. The implications are staggering. Who were these weapons made for? No human could have wielded a 6-foot sword with such girth and weight. No warrior from Mesopotamian history wore armor that wide or bore shields that high. But the Bible may offer an answer. In Genesis 6:4, it is written, "The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown." The Nephilim giants born of angelic and human union are described as mighty, terrifying beings, possessing power and stature far beyond that of men. Could these weapons have belonged to them? Alternatively, some scholars propose that the weapons were not crafted by the Nephilim themselves, but by the Watchers, the fallen angels spoken of in both Genesis and the Book of Enoch. According to ancient texts, these angels descended to earth and taught mankind forbidden knowledge, including metallurgy, warfare, and sorcery. If they were responsible for crafting such weapons, it would explain the advanced metallurgy and seemingly supernatural properties of the materials. Skeptics, however, remain divided. Some suggest the weapons may be remnants of an unknown but highly advanced Bronze Age culture, perhaps one lost to time and cataclysm. Others argue that they are ritual items created to honor mythological giants rather than serve them in combat. But even these voices admit the craftsmanship is unmatched, the material anomalous, and the symbols beyond cultural classification. And yet, the placement of these weapons so close to the grail, so deep within a sealed sanctuary, raises questions that go beyond archaeology. Were these tools of war hidden for a reason? Locked away to prevent their misuse, or entombed with their fallen masters as relics of an ancient judgment? If they do belong to the Nephilim or their angelic sires, then their re-emergence now at the very time the Euphrates dries up may be no accident. It may be a prophetic unveiling, a signal that the days of Noah are returning, just as Jesus foretold in Matthew 24, "As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man." After the discovery of the Grail and the giant weapons, the research team ventured further into the depths of the Euphrates cave system. The air grew colder. The floor sloped downward at a sharper angle, until it opened into a hollowed space that felt less like a room and more like a tomb. And in the center, partially covered in sediment and stone, was a form. At first glance, it appeared to be a statue, but as excavation tools carefully brushed away the dust, it became clear this was no man-made sculpture. This was a skeleton. Over 12 feet long, the humanoid frame stretched across the stone bed with unnatural proportions. Its arms were elongated, nearly twice the length of a modern adult's. The ribcage was massive, and the skull, grotesquely unfamiliar. It was shaped like a human's, but longer, with exaggerated features, pronounced brow ridges, and what looked like a second ridge of bone above the temple. This was no ordinary human. Preliminary scans ruled out any known species of Homo. DNA samples were taken, though early results were inconclusive, showing markers that did not align with any lineage found in modern human databases. Some researchers suggested mutation, others a hoax. But those on the ground knew better. This discovery did not fit into Darwin's model. It fit into Genesis. Genesis 6:4 declares, "The Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown." The bones in this chamber match the descriptions passed down through ancient texts, creatures of immense stature, born of a forbidden union between the divine and the mortal. The Book of Enoch elaborates detailing how the Watchers, fallen angels, descended to earth and took human women as wives, producing hybrid offspring that corrupted both man and creation. These beings were strong, intelligent, and utterly unholy. For theologians, this discovery is far more than physical. It is spiritual confirmation. These are not just fossils of extinct beings, they are evidence of an ancient rebellion. A rebellion that provoked divine judgment in the form of the Great Flood. The bones buried here may not just belong to a being of the past, but a warning for the future. Because their appearance now at a time when the Euphrates is drying, when global instability echoes prophetic warnings, cannot be dismissed as coincidence. Many ask, why are they being uncovered now? The answer may be that spiritual boundaries, long held firm, are beginning to shift. The walls that kept these entities hidden physically and spiritually may be weakening. The earth is speaking. The bones of the Nephilim have returned to the surface. And with them, the ancient darkness they once carried. The sound came first long before the light ever touched the hidden corners of the cave. From the moment researchers breached the stone seal at the entrance, a strange metallic grinding echoed from the depths. Faint at first, it grew steadily louder as they descended. It wasn't constant, but rhythmic-like, something immense shifting across stone. A drag, a pause, then another, always the same. Now, as the team stood near the chamber that held the Nephilim bones, the mystery began to unravel. Anchored deep into the cave floor, partially embedded in the ancient bedrock, were chains thrusted, thick as a man's thigh, extending into the dark crevices of the stone. They wrapped around nothing visible, and yet they remained taut, as if resisting a pull from something still restrained beneath. Some links were shattered, others worn thin by friction and time. Their placement was deliberate, not random. These were not chains for prisoners, they were chains for entities. Suddenly, a passage from Revelation took on terrifying relevance. Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. And the 4 angels who had been kept ready for this very hour and day and month and year were released to kill 1/3 of mankind. Revelation 9:14-15. Could this cave-sealed, symmetrical, and hidden until now be the very prison described in Scripture? The layout of the chamber, the mathematical precision of the inscriptions on the walls.
Local researchers believe they have cracked a mystery surrounding an extraordinary discovery, and it's right off of our...
Anything wrong can happen.
Something incredible has just emerged from a mysterious cave near the Euphrates River. A discovery that's shaking the world and pointing to one undeniable truth. Jesus is coming soon. You won't believe what's been uncovered. Join us as we reveal this astonishing find and uncover what it means for all of us. The drying up of the Euphrates River is being seen by many as the fulfillment of a significant biblical prophecy. What people have discovered about the river is even more disturbing. Hold on a second. Tap that like button, drop a comment below, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. All right, let's keep going. Beneath the historic Euphrates River in Turkey lies a remarkable archaeological discovery that has captivated historians and researchers worldwide. During the construction of the Biricik Dam in the early 2000s, the diversion of the river revealed Neolithic caves near the ancient Zugma archaeological site in Gaziantep, Turkey. These caves, estimated to date back around 11,000 years, stand as a testament to early human civilization, making them some of the oldest known human-occupied sites in history. The excavation of these caves unveiled an array of incredible artifacts and insights into ancient human life. Researchers uncovered well-preserved settlements, homes, and temples from the Neolithic period, offering a rare glimpse into how early civilizations lived, worked, and worshipped. The walls of these caves revealed intricate rock art, paintings and carvings depicting animals, humans, and abstract symbols. These artistic expressions are believed to reflect communication methods, cultural practices, and spiritual beliefs of the time. Further exploration also uncovered human remains, skeletons, and ritual artifacts, hinting at ceremonial or burial practices within these caves. What's even more astonishing is the evidence of advanced engineering for that era, including sophisticated irrigation systems and architectural designs, showcasing the ingenuity and resourcefulness of these ancient communities. However, in that cave, scientists discovered something that could change the history of the world. Among the first discoveries made within the cave beneath the Euphrates River was an object resembling the legendary Holy Grail. Hidden deep within the ancient walls of the cave, the chalice was crafted from an unknown metal and encrusted with precious gems. Its intricate design and strange inscriptions suggested an origin beyond human craftsmanship, perhaps even divine in nature. The discovery of the Grail in such an unexpected place immediately sparked global interest. For centuries, the Holy Grail has been a source of religious and historical fascination. According to Christian tradition, the Grail was the cup used by Jesus Christ during the Last Supper. The Grail is also believed to be the cup that caught Christ's blood at the crucifixion. Over the centuries, knights, kings, and treasure hunters have searched for the Grail, believing it to possess miraculous powers, healing, eternal life, and divine wisdom. Legends claim that those who drink from the true Grail are granted eternal life and protection from all harm. What makes this discovery even more astonishing is that the Euphrates River and this specific cave were never historically connected to the Grail. How did it end up there? Could it have been hidden intentionally to protect it from those seeking to misuse its power? Some experts have proposed that early Christian sects may have secretly transported the Grail to this location to shield it from persecution or theft. Others suggest a more supernatural explanation, that the Grail was hidden by angelic beings or even by God himself as a safeguard until the appointed time described in biblical prophecy. The drying of the Euphrates, combined with the discovery of the Holy Grail at this precise moment in history, suggests that its reappearance may not be coincidence. It could be a direct signal from God that the final chapter of biblical prophecy is beginning to unfold. The Grail, symbolic of Christ's sacrifice and redemption, emerging in a time of spiritual and political turmoil, mirrors the biblical narrative of the last days. If the Grail truly possesses divine power, as legend claims, its reappearance could herald not only the fulfillment of prophecy, but also the imminent return of Jesus Christ. The discovery of the Holy Grail in a cave beneath the Euphrates River stands as a profound and chilling reminder that biblical prophecy is not merely ancient history, it is alive and unfolding in real time. Even more shocking than the discovery of the Holy Grail was the unearthing of giant-sized weapons and armor within the same cave beneath the Euphrates River. The weapons included enormous swords, massive shields, and long spears, each far too large and heavy to be wielded by any ordinary human. Some of the swords measured over 6 feet in length, while the shields were nearly the size of a full-grown man. The craftsmanship was both ancient and otherworldly, with patterns and details suggesting a level of skill and knowledge lost to time. The armor was equally immense, with helmets and breastplates large enough to fit beings standing between 10 to 12 feet tall. The material used in the armor remains unidentified. It was stronger than any known metal, yet remarkably lightweight. What made the discovery even more mysterious were the strange symbols and inscriptions carved into the surface of the armor. Experts believe the markings resemble ancient angelic script, similar to the descriptions of the language of the angels, found in apocryphal texts. These discoveries immediately sparked intense speculation among biblical scholars and historians. Could these weapons and armor have belonged to the Nephilim, the legendary giants described in the Bible as the offspring of fallen angels and human women? Genesis 6:4 states, "The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown." Genesis 6:4. The presence of such giant artifacts in a cave beneath the Euphrates River raises a profound and unsettling question. Were the Nephilim real? And if so, why were their weapons hidden away so carefully? The Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish text, expands on the story of the Nephilim, describing how fallen angels taught humanity forbidden knowledge and warfare. Could this cave have been a battlefield or a sanctuary for the Nephilim? The deliberate concealment of the weapons suggests that they were either hidden for safekeeping or locked away to prevent them from being used again. This discovery aligns with Revelation 9:14-15, which speaks of 4 angels bound at the Euphrates River, destined to be released as part of God's judgment. Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. Revelation 9:14. The combination of ancient weapons and biblical prophecy suggests that this discovery is more than just an archaeological find. It could be a direct sign of the fulfillment of end times prophecy. Why is an armor in this river cave? If the armor and weapons truly belong to the Nephilim, this discovery could reshape our understanding of biblical history and ancient warfare. The fact that these artifacts were found beneath the Euphrates, a river with direct connections to biblical end times prophecy, makes the discovery even more significant. The Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish text that expands on the story of the Nephilim, states that the fallen angels who fathered the Nephilim were punished and bound beneath the earth. Could this cave have been one of the prisons where these angels were confined? The weapons and armor may have been left behind as a grim reminder of a forgotten conflict between the fallen angels and divine forces. The inscriptions on the weapons suggest that they were crafted using lost techniques, possibly with the assistance of supernatural beings. If these were indeed Nephilim artifacts, it would confirm the reality of a hybrid race that once walked the earth, a race created through the forbidden union of angels and humans. Connection to the Nephilim and the fallen angels in the Bible. The discovery of giant weapons and armor beneath the Euphrates River aligns closely with several key biblical references to the Euphrates and its deep connection to divine and demonic activity. The Euphrates holds a central place in Scripture, not only as one of the 4 rivers mentioned in the Garden of Eden, Genesis 2:14, but also as a site of significant prophetic events tied to the end times. Revelation 9:14-15 speaks explicitly about 4 angels bound at the Euphrates River who will be released at an appointed time to execute God's judgment on the earth. It said to the 6th angel who had the trumpet, "Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates." And the 4 angels who had been kept ready for this very hour and day and month and year were released to kill 1/3 of mankind. Revelation 9:14-15. The idea that fallen angels could have left behind their weapons and armor, only to have them uncovered now, at a time when global conflict, political instability, and spiritual unrest are increasing, is difficult to dismiss as mere coincidence. The drying up of the Euphrates and the discovery of these ancient artifacts could be a direct sign that biblical prophecy is unfolding in real time. The connection between the Nephilim and the fallen angels is first established in Genesis 6:1-4, which describes how the sons of God, interpreted as fallen angels, took human wives and produced offspring known as the Nephilim, giants who were renowned for their size, strength, and supernatural abilities. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. Genesis 6:4. The Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish text referenced in Jude 1:14-15, expands on this narrative, detailing how around 200 fallen angels, led by the angel Samyaza, descended to earth and taught humanity forbidden knowledge, weapon-making, sorcery, and occult practices. Their offspring, the Nephilim, became tyrants and giants who corrupted the earth, leading to the Great Flood. According to the Book of Enoch, the fallen angels were judged by God and bound beneath the earth in chains until the final judgment. The fact that the Euphrates River is specifically mentioned in Revelation as the location where 4 fallen angels are bound raises the possibility that the cave and the artifacts discovered within it could be remnants of this ancient judgment. Could the weapons and armor have been left behind during the final days of the Nephilim before the flood? Or were they deliberately sealed away by divine intervention to prevent their misuse until the appointed time? The symbols and inscriptions found on the armor resemble ancient angelic script described in the Dead Sea Scrolls and other early religious texts. This suggests that the artifacts could have originated from the very beings who corrupted early humanity, the fallen angels themselves. The fact that these items were hidden beneath the Euphrates, a river with direct eschatological significance, supports the theory that this is not merely an archaeological find. It is part of a divine timeline leading to the fulfillment of prophecy. The drying up of the Euphrates itself is a major sign of the end times. Revelation 16:12 states, "The sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east." The timing of the Euphrates drying up, combined with the unearthing of these Nephilim artifacts, suggests that the world is moving rapidly toward the final battle between good and evil, the great conflict described in Revelation, where Christ will return to establish his eternal kingdom. Moreover, the book of Daniel, Daniel 12:4, speaks about hidden knowledge being revealed in the last days. "But you, Daniel, roll up and seal the words of the scroll until the time of the end. Many will go here and there to increase knowledge." Could the revelation of these ancient artifacts beneath the Euphrates be the fulfillment of Daniel's prophecy? A revealing of hidden knowledge that confirms the existence of the Nephilim and fallen angels? Many theologians believe that the return of the Nephilim, or the resurgence of their influence through spiritual deception, could be a key sign that the world is entering the final days before Christ's return. Matthew 24:37-39 states, "As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. The days of Noah were marked by the presence of the Nephilim, the corruption of humanity, and direct interference by fallen angels. The resurfacing of weapons and artifacts tied to the Nephilim beneath the Euphrates suggests that history may be repeating itself, signaling that the world is once again approaching the climactic moment of judgment and redemption. The discovery of these ancient artifacts beneath the Euphrates could be a final warning, a divine sign that the world is nearing the final chapter of human history. As believers and skeptics alike continue to examine these findings, the connection to biblical prophecy remains undeniable. The Nephilim, the fallen angels, and the drying up of the Euphrates are not merely ancient myths. They are pieces of a larger prophetic puzzle that is now falling into place. The discoveries beneath the Euphrates River, the Holy Grail, giant weapons and armor, are closely tied to biblical prophecy and are seen by many as signs of the imminent return of God, specifically the second coming of Jesus Christ. The Bible explicitly mentions the drying up of the Euphrates River as a major sign of the end times. In Revelation 16:12, it is written, "The sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east." The drying up of the Euphrates River today, something confirmed by modern scientific reports, is directly related to this prophecy. It is believed that the drying up of the river will pave the way for the final conflict between good and evil, where God will defeat the forces of darkness. The discovery of ancient artifacts beneath the dried-up riverbed could signal that the stage is being set for the fulfillment of this prophecy, meaning that the return of God is near. The discovery of the Holy Grail, believed to be the cup that Jesus used at the Last Supper, is highly symbolic. The Holy Grail symbolizes the new covenant established by Christ's sacrifice. "This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins." Matthew 26:28. Its sudden appearance beneath the Euphrates River may be seen as a sacred reminder of Christ's sacrifice and a signal that humanity's ultimate redemption is near. Since the Holy Grail is associated with Christ's promise of salvation and eternal life, its discovery may symbolize the imminent fulfillment of that promise through his second coming. Luke 21:28 supports this idea. "When these things begin to take place, stand up and lift up your heads because your redemption is drawing near." The weapons and armor unearthed, apparently designed for creatures much larger than humans, suggest a direct connection to the Nephilim, giants described in Genesis 6:4 as descendants of fallen angels and human women. The existence of the Nephilim was the primary cause of God's judgment through the Great Flood. The reappearance of these artifacts may indicate that spiritual corruption and angelic intervention are returning to the earth, harking back to the days of Noah. Jesus himself warned that the state of the world before his return would mirror the days of Noah. "As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man." Matthew 24:37. If the Nephilim were active before the flood and their artifacts are now reappearing, it could be a sign that history is repeating itself and that God's judgment, followed by the second coming of Christ, is near. The book of Revelation mentions 4 angels bound in the Euphrates River, waiting to be released to carry out God's final judgment. Release the 4 angels who are bound in the great river Euphrates. Revelation 9:14. If the discovery of weapons and armor is evidence that these angels or their influence have been released, it could mean that the final events leading to Christ's return have begun to unfold. The unsealing of the cave and the revelation of these ancient artifacts could indicate that the spiritual forces described in the book of Revelation are now at work. The presence of these massive weapons and armor beneath the Euphrates River may suggest preparations for the final conflict between the powers of heaven and hell, a battle described in Revelation 19:11-16, where Christ returns as a warrior king to defeat the Antichrist and the armies of darkness. I saw heaven opened, and behold, before me was a white horse, and its rider is called Faithful and True. With righteous judgment he judges and makes war. Revelation 19:11. The discovery of these weapons and armor may symbolize that the final conflict is near. The second coming of Christ is often described as the time when he will establish justice, destroy evil, and bring about a new heaven and earth. The appearance of these ancient weapons may signal that this climactic battle is near. The book of Daniel mentions that in the last days, hidden knowledge and secrets will be revealed. But you, Daniel, roll up the book and seal up the words of the book until the time of the end. Many will go here and there to increase knowledge. Daniel 12:4. The excavation of the Holy Grail, Nephilim weapons, and inscriptions on armor may symbolize the revealing of hidden knowledge prophesied in the book of Daniel. As these discoveries match the Bible's descriptions of angelic and demonic activity, they may signal that long-sealed mysteries of the Bible are being revealed as the last days draw near. One of the 6 basic doctrines of Christianity listed in Hebrews 6:1-2 is eternal judgment. One very revealing factor that was illuminated by the responses from our West Coast prophecies were the teachings and comments some made about God's judgment. It is hard not to question if some of these Christians, especially those in ministry, had actually ever studied the scriptures on this important subject. This compelled me to start asking believers, when was the last time they heard a sermon on God's judgment? And to date, I have not found a single one who remembers hearing even one sermon on this important and basic Christian doctrine. I cannot remember the last time that I taught on this subject either. I did study it in some depth for about 2 years when I was a new believer. I have taught on it some in the past, but with the exception of a few references, I have not taught on this important subject in depth for more than 25 years. So I am not pointing fingers at others in this anymore than I am considering myself guilty of overlooking this important matter too. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.
Zealand now, where biologists have found a wealth of new species after exploring a rift some 5 kilometers.
The Euphrates River is vanishing, and with it, ancient secrets buried beneath its waters are being revealed. The Bible prophesied that in the last days, the Euphrates would dry up, preparing the way for God's final plan. Now, mysterious discoveries are surfacing. Could this be undeniable proof that biblical prophecy is unfolding before our eyes? Are we witnessing the final moments before the Great Tribulation? What's happening in the Euphrates could change everything. Join us as we uncover the truth behind this prophetic event and explore what it means for the return of Jesus. The Euphrates riverbed continues to recede. Not only are ancient artifacts and ruins being exposed, but locals have also reported encountering something far more terrifying. As researchers explored the exposed riverbed of the drying Euphrates, they made a shocking discovery: the skeletal remains of a massive, serpent-like creature. The shape of the skull, the structure of the spine, and the overall composition of the remains suggested that this was no ordinary animal. Some scientists initially speculated this possibly an extinct serpent or marine reptile. However, as the excavation continued, experts were left baffled by characteristics that seemed eerily similar to descriptions of mythical dragons. Could this be giant creatures roaming the earth, or does it carry a more ominous meaning? For centuries, various cultures have spoken of dragons, powerful, serpent-like beasts capable of destruction. In many traditions, dragons were seen as divine punishments, guardians of forbidden knowledge, or creatures tied to supernatural forces. Hold on a second. Tap that like button, drop a comment below, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. All right, let's keep going. Why did this dragon skeleton appear in the Euphrates River? The Euphrates River has long been a site of historical and religious significance. Some believe that the skeleton's emergence at this time is no coincidence. Throughout history, dragons have been depicted as powerful and often malevolent beings. Their appearance in myths often signifies destruction, chaos, and divine judgment. Could the discovery of this giant skeleton be a warning? A message from God that we are approaching the final days. As the Euphrates dries up and ancient relics emerge, it seems as though the past is speaking directly to us, urging us to pay attention to the signs unfolding before our eyes. It didn't stop there. Not only did the locals find the skeleton on the shore, but they also found something else terrifying at the bottom of the river. Recently, several residents near the Euphrates River have reported witnessing an enormous creature lurking just beneath the water's surface. Though it never fully emerged, the glimpses of its massive, shadowy form and the powerful waves it generated sent chills through those who saw it. Some described its movement as unnatural, as if something ancient and powerful was stirring beneath the riverbed. Others claimed to hear deep, guttural sounds reverberating from the water, sounds unlike anything they had encountered before. These unsettling reports have led many to suspect that they had encountered the leviathan, the fearsome sea monster described in the Bible. The book of Job provides a vivid depiction of this terrifying beast. Can you pull in Leviathan with a fish hook or tie down its tongue with a rope? Can you put a cord through its nose or pierce its jaw with a hook? Job 41, 1-2. Leviathan is described as an indomitable creature, untamable by man, with scales like armor and the power to breathe fire. Traditionally, many biblical scholars have considered Leviathan to be either a metaphor for chaos or an extinct sea creature from ancient times. But could it be possible that the Leviathan, often thought to be symbolic, is now revealing itself as a real entity? The idea of a monstrous being lurking in the depths is not new. Many cultures and ancient texts reference enormous sea creatures capable of destruction. In Psalm 74:14, God is said to have crushed the heads of Leviathan, suggesting a multi-headed sea beast. Isaiah 27:1 further prophesies, "In that day the Lord will punish Leviathan the fleeing serpent, Leviathan the twisted serpent, and he will slay the dragon that is in the sea." This raises the possibility that Leviathan is not just a single entity, but a force that reappears in times of great upheaval. Some even believe that the rising presence of supernatural beings, whether angels, demons, or hidden creatures, could be a warning sign from God. If an ancient beast has indeed resurfaced, its presence could signify a terrifying reality. That prophecy is being fulfilled before our very eyes. Why did the creature like Leviathan appear in the Euphrates River? The Leviathan is traditionally associated with the sea, but the fact that it may have been seen in the Euphrates raises many questions. Some believe that as the river dries up, it is exposing hidden creatures that have been trapped for centuries. Others suggest that this is a supernatural manifestation, a warning of greater things to come. Revelation 13 is one of the most significant chapters in the book of Revelation, describing the emergence of two powerful beasts, one from the sea and one from the earth. These beasts play a crucial role in the end times events, serving as instruments of deception, control, and destruction. Then I saw a beast rising up out of the sea. It had 7 heads and 10 horns, with 10 crowns on its horns, and written on each head were names that blasphemed God. Revelation 13:1. This beast is also given the power to wage war against God's people and to rule over nations. Many scholars interpret this beast as representing a global political system, possibly the Antichrist empire, which will rise in the last days to dominate the world. However, others speculate that it could also refer to an actual monstrous entity, one that has lain dormant, waiting for its time to be revealed. The Bible frequently describes powerful dragon-like beings. In Isaiah 27:1 it says, In that day, the Lord will punish with his sword, his fierce, great, and powerful sword, Leviathan the gliding serpent, Leviathan the coiling serpent. He will slay the monster of the sea. Leviathan is one of the most well-known biblical creatures, a great serpent-like beast often associated with chaos and destruction. Could the skeleton found in the Euphrates be the remains of such a creature? Another possibility ties this discovery to the Nephilim and fallen angels. Some biblical texts suggest that before the Great Flood, fallen angels corrupted God's creation, leading to hybrid creatures, giants, beasts, and abominations that were wiped away in divine judgment. If this skeleton is more than just an ordinary fossil, could it be linked to these fallen creatures? The location of this discovery only adds to the mystery. The Euphrates River holds immense prophetic significance, particularly in the book of Revelation. Revelation 16:12 warns that in the last days, the Euphrates will dry up, making way for major end times events. Now, as the river recedes, this shocking discovery emerges. Is this simply a coincidence, or is it a warning that the final days are drawing near? For the first discovery of a dragon skeleton in the Euphrates River, a dark connection between dragons, Satan, and the fallen angels. The Bible makes multiple references to dragons, often using them as symbols of evil, destruction, and divine judgment. These creatures are frequently associated with Satan himself, representing his immense power and influence over the world. In Revelation 12:9, Satan is explicitly referred to as a dragon. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth and his angels with him. This passage directly links dragons to Satan and his fallen angels, emphasizing their rebellion against God. The imagery of a dragon as Satan's form suggests immense power, cunning, and a terrifying presence, much like the ancient myths of fire-breathing serpents that once terrorized humanity. The book of Job 41 describes a fearsome creature known as Leviathan, a monstrous sea serpent with impenetrable scales and the ability to breathe fire. Its snorting throws out flashes of light. Its eyes are like the rays of dawn. Flames stream from its mouth. Sparks of fire shoot out. Smoke pours from its nostrils as from a boiling pot over burning reeds. Its breath sets coals ablaze, and flames dart from its mouth. Job 41:18-21. This passage is particularly intriguing because it describes a fire-breathing beast, an ability commonly attributed to dragons in folklore. Could these descriptions be based on real creatures that once roamed the earth? Or are they symbolic representations of demonic forces, indicating the supernatural power of Satan and his minions? The Bible portrays Leviathan as a symbol of chaos and evil, a force that stands in opposition to God's divine order. Isaiah 27:1 states, "In that day, the Lord will punish with his sword, his fierce, great, and powerful sword, Leviathan the gliding serpent, Leviathan the coiling serpent. He will slay the monster of the sea." Many biblical scholars believe that Leviathan represents not just a monstrous creature, but a deeper spiritual reality, the forces of darkness that seek to oppose God's kingdom. Some interpretations suggest that Leviathan is a metaphor for Satan himself, who will ultimately be defeated at the end of time. If the skeleton found in the Euphrates is truly that of a dragon-like creature, it could be a physical manifestation of these ancient spiritual battles. Could it serve as a reminder of the war between good and evil that has raged since the dawn of creation? The Euphrates River has long been associated with biblical prophecy, particularly regarding fallen angels. Do these fallen angels have anything to do with the dragon skeletons in the Euphrates River? Revelation 9:14-15 describes 4 powerful angels who were bound at the Euphrates River, waiting to be released. It said to the 6th angel who had the trumpet, "Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates." And the 4 angels who had been kept ready for this very hour and day and month and year were released to kill 1/3 of mankind. This chilling prophecy suggests that fallen angels, imprisoned by divine decree, will one day be unleashed to bring devastation upon the earth. If demonic entities have been bound in the Euphrates for centuries, could the drying up of the river signify that their time of release is near? The discovery of a dragon-like skeleton in the Euphrates may not just be a bizarre scientific find. It could be a warning that ancient forces, once hidden beneath the waters, are about to resurface. The book of Revelation makes it clear that Satan and his fallen angels will wage war against God and his people in the final days. The dragon, a direct representation of Satan, plays a key role in this ultimate battle. Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. Revelation 12:7-8. Could the drying of the Euphrates, the unearthing of this mysterious skeleton, and the rising tensions in the world all be indicators that we are drawing closer to the final confrontation? If these events align with biblical prophecy, then they serve as a sobering reminder that spiritual warfare is intensifying and that the return of Christ may be near. Other signs of the approaching judgment day. The drying up of the Euphrates is not an isolated event. It is just one of many strange and unsettling occurrences happening across the world. As natural disasters, unexplained phenomena, and apocalyptic signs increase, many believe these events are clear indicators that the final days are near. Throughout history, rivers have been vital sources of life, sustaining civilizations and communities. However, in recent years, several rivers across the world have inexplicably turned blood red, leaving both scientists and religious scholars searching for answers. Argentina, Peru, Japan, and China. Reports have surfaced of rivers and bodies of water suddenly taking on a crimson hue. While some scientists attribute this to red algae blooms or chemical pollution, the eerie resemblance to biblical prophecy has sparked global concern. Revelation 16:4 states, "The third angel poured out his bowl on the rivers and springs of water, and they became blood." This event also occurs in the Middle East, near a lake of the Dead Sea. If this is truly a fulfillment of prophecy, it is a dire warning that humanity is approaching a moment of divine reckoning. Is this nature's way of signaling the impending judgment, or is it a direct supernatural intervention? In one of the most remote and inhospitable regions of the world, a glacier in Antarctica has been oozing deep red water for years, a phenomenon known as blood falls. Scientists have determined that this eerie effect is caused by iron oxidation, but many believe it is another fulfillment of end times prophecy. Joel 2:30 states, "And I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and columns of smoke." The appearance of blood-red water in one of the most untouched places on earth is deeply unsettling, especially when considering the many other signs occurring simultaneously. If all these events are happening at the same time, are they mere coincidences? Another chilling event prophesied in the Bible relates to a celestial impact. Revelation 8:10-13 says, "Then the third angel sounded, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water." The name of the star is wormwood. A third of the water became wormwood. Some believe that the asteroid predicted to hit Earth in 2032 could also be wormwood. Scientists are currently tracking this massive space rock, but biblical scholars argue that its potential impact aligns precisely with the prophecies of the third trumpet. One more worrying thing. Across the world, many have reported hearing mysterious, trumpet-like sounds from the sky. These eerie noises have been recorded in different countries, often occurring alongside other strange phenomena. Could these sounds be the fulfillment of Revelation's prophecy concerning the 7 trumpets of judgment? Celestial events have long been associated with divine messages, and the upcoming blood moon on March 14th is no exception. In biblical prophecy, the blood moon is considered a warning, a sign that something monumental is about to take place. Could this be another signal that the end times are drawing near? What does the Bible say about the blood moon? The Bible makes several references to the moon turning to blood, often linking it to the final judgment and the second coming of Christ. One of the most well-known verses regarding this phenomenon is found in the book of Joel, Joel 2:31. "The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord." This passage suggests that a blood moon is not just a natural occurrence, but a direct sign from God that the final days are approaching. Revelation 6:12. I watched as he opened the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red. With increasing natural disasters, wars, and societal unrest, could the March 14th blood moon be the latest in a series of prophetic warnings? Many believe that God uses the heavens to communicate with humanity, as stated in Genesis 1:14. And God said, "Let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years." If the blood moon on March 14th is indeed another divine signal, it could be warning us to prepare for what is coming next. Is this one of the last warnings before the Great Tribulation? You know what? The strange events mentioned above all point to the 7 trumpets of judgment in the Bible. Each of the 7 trumpets in Revelation 8 through 11 brings a specific form of judgment upon the earth. Many of these events seem to be unfolding in our world today. The first trumpet, burning of grass and trees. Massive wildfires have ravaged California, Australia, and the Amazon rainforest, fulfilling this prophecy. The second trumpet, water turning to blood. We have discussed the rivers turning red worldwide, aligning with this trumpet. The third trumpet, water turning bitter. Some believe the asteroid predicted for 2032 could fulfill this prophecy, as it could contaminate water sources. The fourth trumpet, eclipse and red moon. The upcoming blood moon event on March 14th could be linked to this judgment. The fifth trumpet, locusts destroying crops. Unprecedented locust swarms have devastated crops across Africa and the Middle East in recent years. The sixth trumpet, the prophecy of the Euphrates River and the coming war. The sixth trumpet in the book of Revelation 9:13 to 21 is one of the most chilling prophecies in the Bible. It describes a time when 4 fallen angels, bound at the Euphrates River, will be released to unleash a catastrophic war that will kill 1/3 of mankind. This prophecy has fascinated scholars and believers for centuries, and recent events around the Euphrates River suggest that it may soon be fulfilled. The prophecy of the Euphrates River in Revelation 9. Revelation 9:13 to 15 states, "The sixth angel sounded his trumpet, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar that is before God. It said to the sixth angel who had the trumpet, 'Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates.' And the 4 angels who had been kept ready for this very hour and day and month and year were released to kill 1/3 of mankind." This prophecy highlights several key elements. 4 fallen angels are bound at the Euphrates. These beings have been restrained for a specific time in history. The Euphrates River is central to this prophecy. Its drying up may signify that the angels' release is near. A massive war will follow their release. 1/3 of the global population will be wiped out. A 200 million man army will rise. This unprecedented military force will play a major role in the destruction. The fact that the Euphrates River is drying up today is seen by many as a warning that this prophecy is unfolding before our eyes. Revelation 16:12 gives another crucial prophecy. The 6th angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east. This suggests that the drying up of the Euphrates is a precursor to a massive war involving powerful nations. Could this prophecy be connected to the rising global tensions we see today? Could the nations of the East, such as China, Russia, and Iran, be preparing for a prophesied war? Does the war in the Middle East indicate that the 4 fallen angels are about to be released? These are questions that believers and scholars are asking as the world watches the Euphrates disappear before our eyes. The 200 million man army, who could it be? Revelation 9:16 states, "The number of the mounted troops was twice 10,000 times 10,000. I heard their number." This 200 million man army is one of the most mysterious parts of the 6th trumpet prophecy. Some believe this force will be demonic, while others argue that it will be a literal human army formed by powerful nations, a spiritual or demonic army. Some scholars suggest that the army described in Revelation 9 could be a supernatural force of fallen angels or demonic entities unleashed upon the earth. The rise of a global military alliance. Others believe that the prophecy points to a massive military force in the modern world, possibly involving China. With the world's largest standing army, China has the ability to field an enormous force. Russia's increasing military presence and conflicts suggest growing global tensions. BRICS nations includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. This alliance has been strengthening, and some speculate they could form a military coalition in a future conflict. The regions surrounding the Euphrates River like Turkey, Syria, Iraq, Iran is already in turmoil with increasing military activity. Given current political tensions, some believe that the 200 million-man army could be the result of a massive global war, possibly leading into World War III. Whether this army is spiritual or physical, its impact will be devastating, bringing a war that will wipe out 1/3 of humanity. What is the difference between the rapture and the second coming? This is one of prophecy's greatest misconceptions. The rapture and the second coming are often confused, but they are distinct events with distinct purposes on God's prophetic timeline. At the rapture, Jesus will return for his saints. At the second coming, he will return with his saints. At the rapture, Jesus will not descend to earth. At the second coming, he will descend to the Mount of Olives as a prelude to his earthly reign. At the rapture, Jesus will bring a blessing for his saints. At the second coming, he will bring judgment for those who have rejected him. The rapture could occur at any moment. The second coming will occur 7 years later. When the rapture occurs, Christ will take every deceased and every living Christian to heaven with him. Paul describes this glorious event in 1 Thessalonians 4:16-17. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel, and with the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and thus we shall always be with the Lord. The rapture will protect God's saints from the tribulation, the 7 years of judgment that will be poured out on earth between the rapture and the second coming. There are some who argue the tribulation period will begin before the rapture. However, the Bible says that, "There is therefore now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus." Romans 8:1, which suggests the church will not experience God's judgment during the tribulation. 7 years after the rapture, Jesus will return to earth in the event known as the second coming. His return will be entirely different from his arrival in Bethlehem as a humble child. When Christ returns, he will appear as the exalted King of the universe, surrounded by his saints. The powers of evil will be quickly defeated at the Battle of Armageddon, and then Christ will establish his everlasting kingdom on earth. The end times are a heavy subject to break down and digest, and so I think because of that, a lot of people would rather just avoid it. Reading the book of Revelation can be hard to understand, or maybe even a little scary to some people, but I don't think we should avoid any book in the Bible just because we don't understand it. My hope in writing this post is to break down the key points of the end times in chronological order to help make learning about this a little less daunting. There are many passages throughout the Bible that link to the end times, not just in Revelation. But when you start studying the Bible as a whole, you will understand Revelation a lot better. I absolutely love digging deeper in the Word because there is always something new to learn. I have been reading and taking notes for a while now for this post, and I don't know about you, but when I read one scripture, it leads me to another, and well, I can probably write a book on the end times. It's fascinating to me, but I tried my best to stay in simple terms and focus on a few key points to make it easier to understand the overall message of what is to come. I also will say I don't think we are currently in the end times, but I do think it is getting closer. I encourage you to read this post once through and then reread it with your Bible in hand. Like anything in life, there are different views on the end times, and I think that is mostly because there is confusion when reading the passages about it. Like post-tribulation versus pre-tribulation. In the words of Chuck Missler, if the rapture happened after the tribulation, it would be like the bridegroom saying, "Come, let's get married, then I will beat the living daylights out of you, and then we'll go have dinner." Jesus says to us in the Word that we as believers will be spared from the wrath. "Since you have kept my command to endure patiently, I will also keep you from the hour of trial that is going to come on the whole world to test the inhabitants of the earth. Revelation 3:10. We also know that it says in 1 Thessalonians, "For God did not appoint us to suffer wrath, but to receive salvation through our Lord Jesus Christ." People argue that this is speaking about sparing us from hell, but notice how the promise is not preservation through the trial, but from the time period of the trial. It isn't saying we will be spared from hell, because we already know that as Christians we are spared from that, because Jesus died on the cross. Something I think people confuse often is the rapture versus the second coming. These are two separate events. The rapture will be without warning and can happen at any time, which is why it is important to know your salvation. Not just believing that you're a Christian and thinking you are all set for heaven, but truly living your life for Jesus Christ and obeying God's commandments for us. We are told to be watchful and ready, meaning to stay focused on Jesus and living a godly life, truly following his commandments and being Christ-like. When it's all said and done, there is only one way to heaven, and that is through Jesus Christ. John 14:6. The rapture is when the church, true believers, will be taken up in the air with Jesus. It's worth mentioning why I say true believers, because the term Christian is so casually thrown around. Jesus despises wishy-washy Christians. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth. Revelation 3:16. It is easy to think you have all the time in the world to get right with God. But like I said, the rapture can come at any moment, and your salvation is not something you want to be unsure about. Not everyone who says to me, "Lord, Lord," will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, "Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles?" Then I will tell them plainly, "I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers." Matthew 7:21-23. Listen, I tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep, but we will all be changed, in a flash, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed. 1 Corinthians 15:51-52. For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet call of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. After that, we who are still alive and are left will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so we will be with the Lord forever. 1 Thessalonians 4:16-17. The Greek translation of the words caught up mean harpazo, meaning to seize upon with force or snatch up. The word church appears 19 times in the first 3 chapters of Revelation, but significantly, the word is not used again until chapter 22. In the entire description of the tribulation in Revelation, the word church is absent. The Bible never uses the word church in a passage relating to the tribulation. I assume you know that the word church refers to Christians, not a building. The second coming will be after the tribulation period. Unlike the rapture, it will be known and seen by everyone. The second coming is after 7 years of tribulation, when Jesus returns to earth and defeats the Antichrist to overthrow evil. He throws the devil into the abyss, a bottomless pit, to keep him bound and locked up so that he cannot deceive the nations until the 1,000 years are over. The millennial reign of Christ. During the second coming, the Lord will return to earth, as opposed to the rapture where he comes in the air. The armies of heaven were following him, riding on white horses and dressed in fine linen, white and clean. Revelation 19:14. He will set up his kingdom on earth for a 1,000-year reign. In my vision at night I looked, and there before me was one like a son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. He was given authority, glory, and sovereign power. All peoples, nations, and men of every language worshipped him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. Daniel 7:13-14. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next video. The Euphrates River is more than just a body of water. It's a symbol of prophecy, history, and mystery. And now it's making headlines for an astonishing reason. As the water level drops, hidden secrets are coming to the surface. Are these discoveries a sign of the times? Or are we finally uncovering a forgotten chapter of history? What's happening in the Euphrates might change everything. Join us as we dive deep into this unfolding mystery and uncover the truth behind one of the most prophetic events of our time, the drying up of the Euphrates River. For centuries, the Euphrates River has been a vital water source for the Middle East, sustaining civilizations from ancient Mesopotamia to modern-day nations. However, due to climate change, dam constructions, and shifting geological patterns, the river is now shrinking at an alarming rate. The Bible, particularly in Revelation 16:12, prophesies that the Euphrates will dry up as a precursor to the final battles of the end times. The sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east. As the riverbed continues to recede, not only are ancient artifacts and ruins being exposed, but locals have also reported encountering something far more terrifying. Hold on a second. Tap that like button, drop a comment below, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. All right, let's keep going. Recently, several residents near the Euphrates River have reported witnessing an enormous creature lurking just beneath the water's surface. Though it never fully emerged, the glimpses of its massive, shadowy form and the powerful waves it generated sent chills through those who saw it. Some described its movement as unnatural, as if something ancient and powerful was stirring beneath the riverbed. Others claimed to hear deep, guttural sounds reverberating from the water, sounds unlike anything they had encountered before. These unsettling reports have led many to suspect that they had encountered the leviathan, the fearsome sea monster described in the Bible. The book of Job provides a vivid depiction of this terrifying beast. Can you pull in Leviathan with a fish hook or tie down its tongue with a rope? Can you put a cord through its nose or pierce its jaw with a hook? Job 41, 1-2. Leviathan is described as an indomitable creature, untamable by man, with scales like armor and the power to breathe fire. Traditionally, many biblical scholars have considered Leviathan to be either a metaphor for chaos or an extinct sea creature from ancient times. But could it be possible that the Leviathan, often thought to be symbolic, is now revealing itself as a real entity? The idea of a monstrous being lurking in the depths is not new. Many cultures and ancient texts reference enormous sea creatures capable of destruction. In Psalm 74:14, God is said to have crushed the heads of Leviathan, suggesting a multi-headed sea beast. Isaiah 27:1 further prophesies, "In that day the Lord will punish Leviathan, the fleeing serpent, Leviathan, the twisted serpent, and he will slay the dragon that is in the sea." This raises the possibility that Leviathan is not just a single entity, but a force that reappears in times of great upheaval. Some even believe that the rising presence of supernatural beings, whether angels, demons, or hidden creatures, could be a warning sign from God. If an ancient beast has indeed resurfaced, its presence could signify a terrifying reality. That prophecy is being fulfilled before our very eyes. Before we move on, consider sending a super chat to support us. Every contribution helps. Thanks so much. Why did the creature like Leviathan appear in the Euphrates River? The Leviathan is traditionally associated with the sea, but the fact that it may have been seen in the Euphrates raises many questions. Some believe that as the river dries up, it is exposing hidden creatures that have been trapped for centuries. Others suggest that this is a supernatural manifestation, a warning of greater things to come. Revelation 13 is one of the most significant chapters in the book of Revelation, describing the emergence of two powerful beasts, one from the sea and one from the earth. These beasts play a crucial role in the end times events, serving as instruments of deception, control, and destruction. Then I saw a beast rising up out of the sea. It had 7 heads and 10 horns, with 10 crowns on its horns, and written on each head were names that blaspheme God. Revelation 13:1. This beast is also given the power to wage war against God's people and to rule over nations. Many scholars interpret this beast as representing a global political system, possibly the Antichrist empire, which will rise in the last days to dominate the world. However, others speculate that it could also refer to an actual monstrous entity, one that has lain dormant, waiting for its time to be revealed. Could the Leviathan be connected to this prophecy? Is Leviathan another sign that Judgment Day is near? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more amazing content. Your thoughts matter, so feel free to share your opinions in the comments. Now let's dive back in. Why does this sound appear in the river? According to legends and teachings in the Bible, God's anger at humanity's sin and betrayal led to him sending demons to earth